Hi, I'm Ricky Muddimer, co-founder at Thinking Focus and one of the development team behind What Would You Do? And I'm delighted to be able to share how a group coaching tool is helping organizations to change workplace behavior. Well, let's start with firstly who we are. We are Thinking Focus, a behavioral change consultancy, but we're different. We don't have a mission statement. We have a belief statement. We believe that we can all be our own worst enemies at times. And it's our mindset that creates limitations and impacts our effectiveness individually and collectively. Recognizing interference, real or perceived, is the key to unlocking a company's true potential. So by enabling people to think and work differently, we can unlock productivity, implement change, and deliver those all important sustainable results. We work globally with medium-sized enterprises to divisions of blue chip multinationals. We're really proud to be helping teams across the world and business units to achieve breakthroughs by enabling them to think differently. Our approach is to challenge teams to deliver accelerated behavioral change and, of course, performance improvements. So where did this all start? Well, back in 2017, we were challenged by a HR director of a global automotive manufacturer to think differently. And we do love a challenge. And what she was looking for was a solution that could develop her frontline managers to level up their soft skills. She wanted their highly competent technical managers to be better people managers. And she wanted control of as much as she could, which meant, I want to be able to choose where and when I develop my managers. I can't have that dependent on learning and development or any external provider for that matter. And it needed to be delivered in bite-sized sessions. It needed to be focused on the cognitive and the soft skills. And it also needed to make sure that they improved their management behaviors, particularly when they were dealing with their people. Oh, and of course, that all important, it had to be at the lowest possible cost. But she also went on to explain why that was important, because they'd already invested a huge amount in actor-led role play, um, which just wasn't delivering. There was no evidence of a lasting effect on behaviors or on the improvement in people skills that they really needed. And at that time, our approach was to deliver high impact, face-to-face, immersive workshops that would typically involve a sizable time commitment, more than this organization could possibly provide. So we had to admit, well, this is not what we'd normally do. So we recommended that perhaps they explore a different approach, maybe even gamification, to which she replied, well, can't you do that? So not once to shirk a challenge, we asked for some time. We wanted to work it through, really understand what the issue was, what the problems were that they were facing. And the result, well, it's changed our business from one that traditionally works face to face with managers and leaders to one that can now reach an entire organization. Our ability to work online, to work remotely with clients has come to the fore. Before we started, we took the opportunity to talk to lots of other organizations. Did they face the same issues? What was the impact it was having on them? And what were they doing right now to solve it? And what we learned was that every organization is no different. They face the same challenges. They all want better managers equipped to develop their people. They all want managers who are capable and confident to handle those difficult conversations with their people. But they wanted a more engaged and productive workforce, but they weren't quite sure how to achieve that, certainly with solutions that were available at the time. So we got to work. We created a board game initially, ideal for short burst, high interactive sessions. We engineered it to include socialized learning, to bring people together, to have sessions that were packed with high energy and fun. And since launch, we've heard some really wonderful stories. For example, a large food manufacturer's people, having finished a 10-hour shift, were happy to stay and play What Would You Do, because they didn't constitute it as normal learning. We even had a charity who identified a major risk during gameplay. They fixed it, and within a couple of months of surfacing it during a What Would You Do session, have now changed their policy to mitigate and effectively eliminate that risk to the business. Well, What Would You Do has solved the problem. Our automotive client has now got that control. They have this tool that they can use whenever it suits them and it fits their bite-sized requirement perfectly. What would you do is packed with relevant, reusable content that just saves heaps of design time. It brings managers together to share experiences, learning against real situations. We've even had a cross-functional team who were complaining about their people, but after gameplay, what they realized that they were actually in control of fixing it. So they committed after the session to go and grab a coffee, to talk about it and work it through. And I'm pleased to say that they fixed it. The reflection and public commitment means that behaviors are changed and skills, those much needed skills, are transferred to the day job. And they now have a host of relevant content that, whilst they can use it time and again, it actually is dynamic. It will come alive with every different group that plays with the scenarios that are available. But of course, you can't go through 2020 without having an impact of COVID. It changed the world for all of us. Our traditional interactive board game is less relevant right now, and we get that. So we had to adapt. Like many of the learning professionals that we work with, we've had to adapt the same as they have. And we've also talked to them, and they're telling us that they've got real burning questions that they're trying to find the answers to. So how do they meet the challenges of this ever-changing world? How are they coping with the new world landscape? How do they develop a remote workforce, particularly having to do these things online? How do they accelerate that move to online development? And in doing that, how can they change behaviors? And if you're going to work online, how do you make that online engaging, that online learning engaging, fun and impactful? How are your managers feeling? Management has never been easy, but as you're aware that your managers are responsible for 80% of your workforce. If they had the skills before the pandemic, do they have the skills to do the job in the new world? How do you reach out to them in the current climate? Can you even afford not to? In the office, you could spot issues quickly and try to resolve them, and support was never too far away. Now they're feeling isolated, they're avoiding those difficult conversations in the hope that they'll just go away. They need the skills and confidence to deal with the issues quickly before they escalate, because that escalation causes problems for everybody. And they also want to be able to bounce ideas off each other and test their thinking before they go into particular situations. And of course, remote working is no picnic either. Remote working is taking its toll. It's been almost 9 months of home working, and there's no let up in sight. In fact, organizations are already planning to continue home working to at least the middle of 2021, and some even further than that to the end of 2021. Remote working, we all know, can be lonely, leaving your people isolated. We all like to feel included and involved, but often we don't reach out for fearing that we're interrupting our colleagues or even our boss. I imagine that you, like me, are missing that water cooler chat, those pass-by social interactions that help move things along, and it satisfied our need to belong. And your people want to restore that lost connection with their colleagues. Online meetings and interactions feel more formal and structured. It's now much more get in, get out, and get on with it. How could you create opportunities to allow more free format, to be informal, where they can bounce ideas and situations off each other, to share? But strategic learning leaders are searching for answers too. They're asking themselves a range of questions. How do they move learning online more quickly? How do they create purposeful learning that sticks? How do they develop skills and behaviors online? And of course, that all important question, how do they achieve all of that in the budget that they have? The training team need tools to deliver in the new world strategy for their remote workforce. We all know that face-to-face learning is off limits for the foreseeable future. So what they're needing is, how can they access high impact energetic tools? How do they create or access simple solutions that save them time, that are flexible to suit the operation, that can just slot in when required, and solutions that are ready to go? So there's little time in terms of setup, implementation, or even training to use the tools that they're wanting to use. So let me introduce you to what would you do. We, like learning professionals, have had to adapt to meet the need for online learning solutions. And we quickly adapted the board game concept to the virtual world, taking that concept using existing online meeting tools and combining it with remote polling software. And what would you do? Brings peers together. They have focused group discussion, which is managed by a facilitator, whose role is to ensure that everyone gets to contribute and have their say. They are there to be provocative and ask questions that cause the group to think. As the group explore the work-based situations together, they debate the issue, test and challenge assumptions. The facilitator probes and asks questions, coaches them to help the group to understand the thought process behind the actions. The conversation surfaces a whole host of value, from those unwritten rules, the organizational norms that we all knew, but we're not sure how we knew. They discover internal blockers and issues that we've learned to live with despite their negative impact on time and efficiency. Each scenario culminates with a decision. Players choose from a set of imperfect choices that stir further debate, and game mechanics are introduced in the form of points on the clock and leaderboards, which are all designed to add fun, engagement, and motivation. But the real value comes from those shared experiences, learning how others triumphed and failed. Each scenario and session has built-in reflection where groups can calibrate together. Public commitment creates consistency, and an endowment effect ensues to doing the right thing in the right way. Aristotle once said that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And what would you do is no different. It's much like a cocktail. The individual ingredients come alive when you bring them together. You get that zing, a taste sensation. And if that hasn't made you feel thirsty, then nothing will. But what would you do offers a different kind of cocktail. We're bringing methodologies, theories, techniques, and practices together to make a more powerful learning experience. Let's go through them. Let's see what they are. So kind of how you change behaviors is combining these 4 elements. So first and foremost, we've got group coaching. So you can coach more than one person at once. The benefits from a collaborative development that raises the capability of even mixed ability groups. Knowledge transfer creates a deeper pool of shared understanding, which delivers durable changes in behavior. Gamification, well, enables us to make learning bite-sized. Those sessions can be engaging, fun, and purposeful, even though they might only last for an hour or so. Social learning is where you bring best practice to life, creating a broader understanding of the organizational system, breaking down those internal barriers, sharing those unwritten rules and processes, and surfacing key issues that are limiting your performance. But this all comes together with the use of psychology. We create a safe environment that enables players to feel vulnerable, and that therefore they're more open to learning. They're prepared to say things in a game session that they wouldn't do in a normal learning intervention. We culminate with public commitment, which anchors the participants' commitment to increasing their follow-through. So they're more likely to act consistently with what they've said in front of their peer group. But we recognize that the proof of the pudding is in the eating, which is why you can experience what would you do without any obligation. In our 1-hour demos, you can see how it works, get a feel for how it creates debate and causes players to think. Demos come in one of 2 forms. You can either have your own personal demo with your organization and put it through its paces with your colleagues, or you can attend one of our open demos where you can join in and have a play with people from other organizations. What would you do is helping learning professionals. It's addressing their need for an online solution that works. With what would you do? It makes soft skill development engaging and inclusive, which means it's impactful in changing behavior and transferring those all important skills to the day job. Trainers are getting great value too. What would you do is saving them loads of time. The ready-made content means no design time, and the reusable toolkit puts them in total control. Trainers can run interventions when it suits the organization for as little as half an hour or up to 90 minutes, or they can build it into their existing programs. The game-based approach makes the sessions fun and motivating, which makes learning sticky. And using group coaching means that players are surfacing and sharing experiences. Mixed ability groups are leveling up. Their different experiences create a deeper pool of shared understanding. Learning from each other's experiences vicariously reinforces the desired actions and behaviours. And playing together boosts capability, reinforcing those behaviours through collective peer pressure to do the right thing. And organisations are benefiting too. Playing What Would You Do cross-functionally creates a broader systemic awareness of how the organisation works. Appreciation for others means that problems are owned and more quickly solved, and the adoption of knowledge, skills and behaviours is accelerated, which is providing a greater return on training spend and a more engaged collaborative workforce. The improved collaboration and cooperation mean organisations not only save enormous costs, but they build enduring cross-functional relationships that deal with issues more quickly with less wasted time, effort and money. So, if you feel that What Would You Do is the behaviour change tool that you're looking for, why not book a 1-hour demo at www.games/demo. Thank you for taking the time, and we hope to see you at one of our demos very soon.